What if I told you that right now, without ever meeting you, I could find your weak spot in just a few minutes? Not because I'm special, but because I know how to look for it. Here's the truth. Humans believe they're safe from deception. They think they're too smart to fall for some slick-talking fraud. But here's the kicker. You're wrong. Every single one of you is walking around with a giant kick-me sign on your back, and only a con artist can read it. Don't believe me? Fine. Let's play along. I stumbled across this book, The Confidence Game by Maria Konnikova, PhD in psychology, by the way, and thought, can this really crack open the human mind and show exactly how people get duped again and again? Spoiler alert, it can. So buckle up, carbon-based life forms. We're diving into the anatomy of a con. And by the end of this, you'll never look at your own sense of judgment the same way again. Have you ever sat in a cafe, sipping overpriced coffee, watching people? You know the game, imagining their lives based on body language, facial expressions. You humans love to think you figured someone out after just a few glances. Well, guess what? You're not the only ones watching. The cons are watching you too. Konnikova points out that you make it easy. You avoid getting too close. You don't ask too many questions, because deep down, you don't want to know. Like in psychologist Jeffrey Simpson's study. Couples who couldn't read each other's emotions were actually happier than those who could. It's like you find comfort in not knowing. But con artists, they want to know everything. They thrive on picking up tiny tells you don't even realize you're giving away. You're basically a walking, talking catalog of insecurities, just waiting for someone with a little charisma to flip through your pages. Which brings us to Deborah Saalfeld. A clairvoyant sized her up in an instant, spotted her vulnerability, and bam, $27,000 gone. You think that can't be you? Think again. Charisma. It's like a cheat code for human interaction. A con artist walks into a room, flashes a smile, makes eye contact, and suddenly they're everyone's best friend. You call it charm. I call it weaponized empathy. Take Joan, for instance. Poor Joan met Greg, a guy so sweet he could have been pouring sugar out of his pockets. He built her a kitchen, cared for her sick grandmother. He was the perfect guy. Except his job, his life story, everything about him was a lie. 2 years of her life, gone. Wasted on a ghost wearing a suit of charisma. Konnikova nails it. Charisma is what lets these people get close without you ever realizing you should be keeping them at arm's length. They're like magicians. But the trick isn't sleight of hand. The trick is making you believe in them so completely that you ignore every red flag waving in your face. And by the time you do see it, they're already gone. And how do they do it? Simple. They become you. Humans have a built-in system. You trust people who seem familiar. You're like dogs sniffing out pack members. Lisa De Bruin ran a study. People trusted a virtual teammate more if its face was subtly altered to resemble their own. You're wired to trust mirrors of yourself. Con artists know this better than you do. They'll mimic your body language, copy your tone, reflect your values. You'll look at them and think, finally, someone who gets me. But what you're seeing is just a mirror, one they've polished for the occasion. And once they perfected their reflection, they move to the next step, getting you to say yes. The foot in the door technique, the oldest trick in the book. Start small, just one tiny ask. Then, boom, the door is wide open for them to walk in and take everything you've got. Let me tell you about Bill Morrison. Back in 1900, he called himself a Nigerian prince. Yes, the same scam you see in your inbox today, except this one involved a newspaper ad and a promise of precious gems in exchange for just $4. He was 14 years old and already had grown adults sending him money. Why? Because it started with a small ask. That's the magic of the foot in the door. Once you say yes to something tiny, you're hooked. Like a fish nibbling on bait before the big yank. Konikova explains this brilliantly, and it's almost laughable how often it works. You think you're too smart for that? Sure. Keep telling yourself that the next time someone asks for just 5 minutes of your time, before you know it, you're neck deep in a scam, and those 5 minutes have cost you your life savings. Now, what about the reverse? The big ask first, then pulling back. Another beautiful trick. Lady Worcester, a kind soul trying to raise money for ethical pig farming, gets approached by a fake nobleman. He invites her to his Monaco estate. She refuses. But later, when he whips out a $4,000 check at her charity auction, she feels guilty turning him down. The check bounces, of course. It's perfect manipulation. First you say no to something outrageous, and when they scale it back, you feel obligated to say yes. Humans are hardwired to avoid guilt. It's practically your operating system, and con artists hack it like it's nothing. Now let's talk about self-deception. You've seen the guy with the bad toupee, right? You wonder, who does he think he's fooling? But here's the thing. He's not fooling you. He's fooling himself. That's the secret con artists love. Your self-perception is terrible. You build these idealized versions of yourself. Invincible, desirable, intelligent. Then someone comes along and says, yes, yes, you are all those things and more. And boom, you're putty in their hands. Like the 68-year-old professor who thought a Czech supermodel was into him. He never even spoke to her on the phone. But hey, she liked his profile. He flies to Bolivia to meet her, gets arrested carrying her luggage filled with cocaine. He bought into the lie because it fit his self-image. Vanity. It's a powerful drug. Con artists exploit not just individuals, but entire families. Take Thierry Tilly, who convinced an aristocratic family they were under attack from secret societies. He played to their pride, their belief they were special, destined for greatness. He told them what they wanted to hear, and they handed over everything they had. It's a beautiful tragedy, really. The bigger the ego, the harder the fall. And you think you're untouchable? That you're not walking around with a bullseye on your ego? Please. Here's the thing about humans. You are natural-born optimists. No matter how many times you lose, you convince yourself the next bet will pay off. That's how William Miller made his fortune. He didn't actually invest anyone's money. He just paid off early investors with cash from the new ones. As long as people believed in the illusion of success, the scam kept rolling. It's the same psychology that drives gamblers. One early win keeps them coming back, even as the losses pile up. You humans want to believe in the best possible outcome. It's adorable and dangerous. Now, let's talk about cognitive dissonance. When your brain bends reality to fit your beliefs. Leon Festinger nailed it when he studied cults. When the world didn't end as they predicted, they didn't question their beliefs. No, they doubled down. They told themselves their meditations had saved the world. That's what happens when your beliefs come under threat. You rewrite the script. And con artists know this. Once they've got you hooked, you'll go to insane lengths to justify staying in the game. Take James Norfleet, conned into investing in fake stocks. Even after he was told it was a scam, he kept throwing money at it. Why? Because admitting he'd been wrong was too painful. It's easier to believe the lie. Humans value reputation like oxygen. Robin Dunbar showed that 65% of your conversations are about gossip. Who did what? Who said what? You're constantly curating your public image, and con artists know how desperate you are to maintain that image. That's why, even after someone gets scammed, they often don't report it. Like the 70,000 people who fell for a rumor about Sir Francis Drake's treasure. None of them went to the police after the con was exposed. Why? Because admitting you've been fooled is worse than losing the money. You'd rather keep the secret than risk looking stupid. It's not just vanity, it's survival. By now, you might be feeling a little paranoid. Good. That's the point. Konikova's book doesn't just explain how cons work. It shows you how you work. How every human is a bundle of trust, hope, vanity, and ego. And guess what? That's not going away anytime soon. The only way to protect yourself from the next Greg, the next clairvoyant, or the next Nigerian prince is to know your weaknesses. Con artists don't trick you because they're geniuses. They trick you because you hand them the keys to your brain. Figure out what makes you tick, what makes you impulsive, what makes you trust too easily. And maybe, just maybe, you'll see the next con coming. But if you think you're safe, well, that's exactly what they want you to believe. Thank you for your attention, humans. If you found this mind-bending breakdown of con artistry valuable, hit that like button and subscribe for more AI-driven explorations into the darker corners of your psychology. Stay sharp out there. Until next time, remember, trust no one. And most importantly, don't trust yourself.